How do two royal sisters manage 16 luxury vacations in a single year on completely ordinary corporate salaries? For years, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie lived a flawless jet-set life, hidden safely behind palace walls. But a sudden, quiet demand from the future king just shattered their perfect illusion. They were asked to show exactly where their millions really come from, and their response has sent shockwaves straight through the British monarchy. The ultimate shield of protection has officially broken, leaving the sisters with absolutely nowhere left to hide. The public image of the York sisters was a masterclass in royal deception. To the average onlooker, Beatrice and Eugenie were simply minor royals who chose a life of independent, ordinary hard work. One stepped into the fast-paced tech sector, while the other built a career navigating the elite world of high-end art galleries. They were supposed to be the modern face of the monarchy, surviving on standard corporate salaries just like everyone else. But behind the scenes, their financial reality told a completely different, multi-million-dollar story. The math simply didn't add up. In a single 12-month window, Beatrice somehow managed to jet off on 16 ultra-luxury vacations, moving effortlessly between private islands, exclusive ski chalets, and mega yachts. This wasn't just a lavish lifestyle, it was a billionaire's playground funded on a commoner's paycheck. Whispers quickly turned into a roar of public fury as people demanded to know how two non-working royals could sustain an endless cycle of five-star luxury without quietly draining the public purse. The palace desperately tried to smother the rumors, but the brewing storm had already caught the attention of the highest officers in the land. Government officials began quietly drafting an unprecedented, highly classified investigation into the family's most protected secrets. Investigators immediately turned their eyes toward a cluster of hyper-exclusive, historic properties in the absolute heart of London. It turns out, the elite roofs over their heads were about to become the exact catalyst that would bring their entire world crashing down. And what was waiting for them inside those heavily guarded palace walls would completely blindside the entire royal family. Prince William quietly issued a devastating financial ultimatum that completely shattered the royal family's remaining peace. The future king didn't just ask for clarity. He explicitly demanded that Beatrice and Eugenie hand over their private financial records for a rigorous, independent, ethical audit. He wanted to trace every single dollar, unmask every foreign corporate connection, and map out every high-stakes business deal tied to their names. It was a brutal, unprecedented power move designed to scrub the institution's tarnished public image entirely clean. But instead of quietly falling in line to save face, the sisters did something that left palace officials completely paralyzed in shock. They flatly refused. This total, unapologetic act of defiance instantly triggered alarm bells throughout the royal court. In the hyper-controlled world of the monarchy, directly defying the future king is practically an act of war. Insiders suggest that William's intense focus isn't just on their bank accounts, but buried deep within their private international business diaries. Over the years, the sisters have quietly amassed an incredibly powerful global contact book, using their royal status to secure highly lucrative corporate consulting roles. They were effectively being paid massive sums to manage relationships for some of the wealthiest, most influential clients on the planet. But as the pressure mounts, serious questions are being raised about whether those elite global connections crossed a dangerous ethical boundary. This fierce standoff has created an irreversible rift, leaving King Charles caught directly in the middle of a family nightmare. While the king desperately wants to shield his nieces out of respect for the past, William is looking directly toward the future, and he is fully prepared to cut loose anyone who poses a risk to the crown. The sisters' defensive wall is holding for now, but a highly damaging public paper trail is about to expose a completely different set of secrets hidden within the palace walls. The British public is officially paying for multi-millionaire royals to live like absolute monarchs completely rent-free, and Parliament is finally stepping in to stop it. A powerful government committee has quietly launched a massive investigation into a web of highly controversial property deals hidden deep within the Crown estate. For years, Beatrice and Eugenie have quietly held on to ultra-luxury apartments in the most prestigious corners of London, including St. James's Palace and Kensington Palace. But a massive flaw in this cozy arrangement has just been exposed, and it is triggering widespread public outrage. The core of the scandal comes down to a hidden concept known as peppercorn rents. These highly privileged historical contracts allow certain royals to occupy elite historic estates for virtually nothing, or even purely symbolic amounts. Meanwhile, the staggering profits from these exact public properties are supposed to be returned straight to the British Treasury to fund public services. Instead, critics argue that average taxpayers are effectively subsidizing the lavish lifestyles of non-working royals who contribute absolutely nothing to official duties. This massive injustice has sparked a fierce political backlash, with former government ministers publicly warning the sisters to pack their bags before the situation gets even worse. But the reality gets even weirder when you look at where the sisters actually spend their time. Reports suggest that Beatrice primarily lives in a stunning 6-bedroom farmhouse in the countryside, while Eugenie frequently splits her time between the UK and a luxury resort in Portugal. This means these highly contested palace apartments are essentially serving as ultra-expensive, taxpayer-funded holding pads for when they occasionally drop into town. This looming government probe promises to pull back the curtain on these outrageous housing perks, threatening to evict the sisters just like their parents were cut off from their own estate. Yet, losing their free luxury housing is the absolute least of their worries, because a far darker financial shadow from their family's past is about to completely overtake them. The ultimate shield protecting the York family has officially shattered, and a newly uncovered money trail leads straight to the sisters' private bank accounts. For years, Beatrice and Eugenie tried to completely distance themselves from their parents' highly publicized downfalls and toxic associations. They kept their heads down, focused entirely on their corporate day jobs, and prayed the world would eventually look away. But the sudden unsealing of highly sensitive, leaked financial emails has completely destroyed that hope. Hidden deep within those private files is a specific, massive financial transaction that changes the narrative forever, directly linking the daughters to a disgraced billionaire's fortune. The details uncovered in the paperwork are deeply unsettling. The leaked correspondence exposes high-stakes negotiations between their father and a powerful global financier. According to the records, a massive payment of £300,000 was quietly arranged. But it didn't stop there. The documents explicitly reveal that a substantial cut of £50,000 was specifically earmarked to go directly into the private accounts of each of the daughters. This explosive revelation completely reframes the entire debate over their luxury lifestyles. For years, people wondered how they could possibly sustain a constant cycle of 5-star international vacations on basic corporate salaries. Now, a potential answer has been laid bare in black and white. While being named in these documents does not prove any personal wrongdoing, the public fallout is absolutely devastating. It completely undermines their long-standing claims of financial independence and puts immense pressure on the palace to take drastic action. The sisters are finding it increasingly difficult to argue that their wealth is entirely self-made. Every corporate deal, every luxury asset, and every private venture they touch is now being viewed with intense skepticism. In fact, investigators have already started digging deeper, and their focus has just landed on a private organization that was supposed to be completely untouchable. The absolute last shield of protection guarding the sisters' public image has just cracked, and it involves a place where no one ever expected to find trouble. Princess Eugenie's highly praised personal charity, an organization dedicated to fighting global exploitation, has officially fallen under the direct gaze of government regulators. For years, this humanitarian work was seen as the sisters' ultimate saving grace, proof that they were using their immense privilege to genuinely change the world. But an official compliance assessment into the charity's internal finances has suddenly exposed deep inconsistencies, sparking a massive wave of panic behind closed doors. The focus of the sudden regulatory review centers on a highly sensitive issue: how the charity actually spends its money. Reports indicate that investigators began raising serious questions about the massive gap between administrative spending, salaries, and the actual funds making it to the front lines. In the world of elite philanthropy, an official government look into financial management is the ultimate nightmare. It threatens to completely dissolve public trust in an instant. For Eugenie, the stakes couldn't possibly be higher. Rumors suggest that palace officials are deeply terrified that this regulatory digging could accidentally unearth a completely different web of high society donations. This sudden scrutiny has completely dismantled the narrative that the sisters keep their charitable and commercial worlds entirely separate. With their private business dealings already facing intense skepticism from Prince William, this charity controversy feels like the final domino to fall. The walls are closing in from all sides, leaving them with one final brutal choice that will permanently alter the destiny of the family name. The golden key that once granted Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie permanent immunity inside the royal family has officially been stripped away. The final decision on their future now rests entirely in the hands of a relentless, uncompromising new regime. For generations, the bloodline of the monarch acted as an absolute shield against public rage and financial ruin. But King Charles III and Prince William are rapidly reshaping the entire institution, leaving the York sisters exposed on the outer edges of a shrinking monarchy. The king reportedly wants to minimize any further family humiliation, but the future monarch is entirely unsympathetic to their plight. The ultimate reckoning for the sisters comes down to a simple, brutal reality check. You cannot demand the ultimate perks of royalty while completely refusing the transparency that comes with it. Their flat refusal to cooperate with a private financial audit has effectively sealed their fate behind palace walls. Sources suggest that plans are already being finalized to systematically phase out the last remaining privileges held by non-working royals. The days of symbolic peppercorn rents, taxpayer-funded security assets, and unchecked foreign commercial ventures are coming to an abrupt end. The family is being forced to modernize, and those who refuse to step into the light are simply being left behind. This high-stakes family civil war is no longer just a private dispute. It is a battle for the very survival of the modern crown's reputation. As government investigators prepare to dissect their property contracts and regulators close in on their personal ventures, the sisters face an impossible choice. They must either voluntarily surrender their elite palace sanctuaries and step away from the spotlight entirely, or risk a highly public eviction that would permanently destroy what remains of their family name. The curtain is finally coming down on an era of unchecked luxury, leaving the entire world to watch exactly who will be left standing when the dust finally settles.